Hello everyone, and welcome again to IPS Inland Valley's food demo. Today we're going to be talking about sugar, water, and some infused water recipes. So let's begin with meeting our first ingredient today, which is just sugar. So on the left we have cane sugar, on the right brown sugar. Something that brown sugar is actually less processed than white sugar, but in reality all sugar is usually separated into molasses. Let's focus in here. Into molasses and cane sugar. And so one round of processing separates the cane sugar from molasses, and then they re-add molasses back into it to make brown sugar. And also another little trick for your brown sugar, sometimes we get hard clumps like this. This is due to moisture in the brown sugar. One thing you can use is a little clay ceramic disc, or in this case a little teddy bear. That will help actually wick away some of the moisture to keep your brown sugar from clumping up. So I have a little example in front of me of a pile of white sugar. Now sugar in general has about 4 grams equals about 1 teaspoon. So when we look at a soda here, now this one's actually slightly smaller. This one is about 90 calories, and it's only about 7.5 fluid ounces compared to a regular 12-ounce one. This one, we have about 25 grams of sugar. So using this equation, we have 4 grams equals 1 teaspoon. We actually get about 6 teaspoons of sugar. And that ends up equaling to about this much sugar. Now, when we put a plate of sugar in front of us like this, it usually doesn't seem that appetizing. But if we dilute it into a water solution, such as a soda, or even sometimes our juices or other favorite beverages, even it can sneak into our coffee sometime, our body has a hard time differentiating between a 400 calorie latte and a cup of water. It's going to take that in just as easily, and it won't regulate that amount of calories as a sense of being full, like we usually do with, let's say, fruit. So we're going to move on to maybe some alternatives to these sugary beverages. I mean, soda is one example, but we can even consider fruit juice, sports drinks, or energy drinks as sugary beverages, as we'll see in a moment. So here we have a glass of water, and a lot of people underestimate the value and use of a glass of water. We respirate or breathe out a lot of moisture, and we also use water in a lot of different bodily processes. So 60% of our body is actually water. And another fact that some might not know is that we usually consume about 20% of our daily water through food, like fruits and vegetables, and maybe even our steamed foods like rice and other prepared meals. But in general, there's a lot of reasons why we would need to drink about 8 glasses of water a day, and that can include hotter climates, if you're breastfeeding, if you're doing a lot of exercise, or just a couple of examples of why you need to drink more water. When it comes to our bodily functions, it actually helps get rid of a lot of waste. So that waste is transported outside of our body through urination, sweat, or even our bowel movements. And when you do have a lot of water in your body, it actually helps you regulate your own body temperature. In other words, by being able to sweat, you're able to regulate that body temperature, but also internally, when you have a lot more water, that water is actually able to absorb a lot of heat energy. It also lubricates joints and protects sensitive tissues. For example, your brain is a very sensitive tissue, and even your brain can get dehydrated because it's in a fluid-filled sac. So, for example, when boxers are cutting weight, usually a lot of that is water weight. So unfortunately, when you have head trauma or head impacts when you're dehydrated, your brain doesn't have as much of a cushion because there's not as much fluid in there. So just a helpful hint for those who are in combat sports. Yes, you do want to stay hydrated to protect those sensitive tissues. Now, bringing up sports, a lot of people do end up eating or drinking sports drinks. While these are good for athletes because they have a lot of electrolytes, they also have a lot of sugars. That's because athletes do burn a lot of energy when they're playing sports. However, not all of us drink sports drinks while doing athletic events. That includes kids. So we have to watch out how many calories are in these sports drinks when we're just drinking it because we happen to like the flavor. Now, another drink, energy drinks, are very popular, but they do have a lot of caffeine and a lot of sugar. So this can affect your amount of hydration. Both caffeine and sugar can dehydrate you in the long term. So that's another one to watch out for. And when it comes to even our daily drinks, when anything's high in sugar, essentially your body needs to regulate that amount of sugar and transport it throughout your body by keeping yourself hydrated. So we have to definitely be careful of how much energy we exert, how hot we get, how much sugar we intake, because those can all affect dehydration levels. For example, if you're dehydrated and you feel a little tired, that's definitely a symptom of being dehydrated. So if you have an afternoon slump in energy, it can be due to a lot of things, but dehydration may be one of them. So we're going to talk about how we can increase our water consumption and a couple of tips and tricks. Where we can make water a little bit more interesting is by infusing it with a variety of fruits and vegetables. And here I have a couple of common and popular fruits and vegetables that a lot of people use in infused water, or sometimes known as spa water. And you feel free to use these combinations, but also take a little creativity. Find what you have in your cabinet or in your garden and use those. So here we have watermelon, cucumber, and lime as one combination, strawberries, basil, and lemon, and also blackberries and orange. Now, another thing to keep in mind too is when you're infusing different fruits and vegetables is you're going to want to cut it thinly to increase the surface area. And for example, for berries or for mint, you're going to want to break the surface a little bit, either by like smacking it or rolling it up or smashing it, and just to release some of those flavors or even colors. So I have an example of another thing you can do, and that's making little ice cube flavor enhancers. I just used a old egg carton because I don't have a ice cube container, but in here we actually have, let's see if I can find it, I have blackberries and lemons to add a little bit of flavor to my water. Alright, so those are just some examples of some things you can do. And as we see, some of that infusion is already going on here. It's going to turn our water a nice little pink color and should give it a little bit of a lemon flavor too. So just as a recap, a lot of the drinks that we do have actually have hidden things that dehydrate us, like sugar and caffeine. And even a lot of our day-to-day actions can result us being dehydrated, thus getting tired in the middle of the day. So I highly recommend you are able to drink enough water for your needs. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day and stay cool during the summer. Take care.